Welcome to Horse Matchmakers, a podcast made to help first-time horse buyers navigate the horse buying process with confidence. We cover everything from what you need in a horse to understanding what ads are really saying, everyday scams to perfect prospects so you can match with the right horse for you. If you haven't been here before, you may be wondering why this podcast is needed. People lie. You can find liars and scammers in every single industry that makes a little bit of money. The horse market is a multi-million-dollar one, so liars and scammers are here to stay. Today we are talking all about the intermediate horse. This is a horse that we can be slightly less rigid on our rules for horse purchasing in general. I do want to start with the big, to-do first. Intermediate riders are beginner riders that have been riding for longer than a year, so 2 or more. And are starting to have real goals around their riding. Such as, I want to get a slightly faster run time on my barrels. In comparison to, I want to learn how to lope so I can do barrels one day. Intermediate riders just tend to have slightly bigger goals, such as having a sport already or getting a horse for a specific purpose. I personally believe that getting a horse I personally believe that getting a horse that is within your sport can sometimes be a little bit more trouble than you expect. They're already taught a specific way of doing things, so it can be more difficult for a less experienced rider to change things up into the way you want to do it. However, you can absolutely get a horse that has experience in your sport. I just wouldn't recommend getting a finished horse. They're more experienced in your sport, yes, but the amount of money and the journey that is robbed from you from having to teach that horse, absolutely not worth it. You don't need a shortcut. You need a safe, reliable horse that is willing and ready for your job. One that is ready to grow with you, not wait for you to catch up. Now that we've gotten the big news out of the way, let's get started on some basic search parameters. For age, you can go a little younger than a beginner. I would not go younger than 8. If you can find the perfect horse at 7, that's fine. However, keep in mind that a horse should be broken at about 3 to 5 years old. If you're looking at a younger horse, ask when they were trained to ride. I would make sure they have minimum 3 to 4 years of experience. The sweet spot is always going to be the 10 to 14 year range, old enough to have experience, but not so old you can't be competitive. If a horse is competitive during the 10 to 14 range, then they can compete for longer. I have a 26-year-old barrel horse that competes just fine. The only reason he can is because he's been properly conditioned since he was 10, and probably before that as well. I only have records from when he was 10. I personally started conditioning him when he was 18 because he was in such good condition. Do not buy an older horse and try to turn it into a competitive horse. Your top age for competing should be for 17 to 18 range, not older than that. If you buy a 17-year-old horse to compete, you can expect them to keep it up as long as you do your job and condition them till they're about 21. Now on to height ranges. Quick tough talk. If you are a tall person, you do not need a pony. Buy within what's appropriate for your height, please. 5 feet and under, ponies are okay, which are 14.2 hands and under. If the horse is shorter than you, then you are too tall. You can always go taller. The 5 foot to 5 foot 6 inches range, you can do the top of 14 hands and 15 hands, but I would stick to 15 hands for the minimum. 5 foot 7 inches to 5 foot 11 inches, 15.1 hands is the minimum. 6 foot, you can ride a 15.1 hand horse. If you're going to compete, try and stick in the 16 hand range. It's just the best one for your height. There are some exceptions. If you're tall and very light, you can ride a smaller horse, etc. It really does depend on you. These are just basic guidelines on what to look for. I would not go under your guideline if you're going to compete on this horse, though. Now on to breeds. We want to look in what would fit your sport. For example, don't buy a draft to jump. Think about your sport and purchase a breed that does well for it. So quarter horses tend to be great for any of the Western sports, Western pleasure, barrels, roping. Thoroughbreds are good for barrel racing. Their big legs make those big strides. They're not too great for roping, though. Appendixes are good for barrel racing as well. My personal appendix doesn't tolerate roping, so I can't give too much experience on that one, but I'm sure they would be good for those sort of sports as well. Find what is most commonly used within your sport. That takes a quick Google search. It's 3 seconds, and look within those breeds for your original search. For your price, this one's really important. If you cannot afford this price, you need to wait a minute till you can afford it. Do not go under $2,000. The horse market is insane right now. A $2,000 horse is not an intermediate horse. Quite frankly, I would be expecting to spend $5,000 or more. That's just how the horse market is right now. You can't just go pick up a $1,000 horse and have them be Spirit anymore. It's just $5,000 is probably where you're going to land. All right, so now that we have our basic guidelines, let's look at a couple ads. Just for the sake of this exercise, none of these are horse traders. None of them had dozens of horses listed under their profile. Each horse is only listed once. All of those things. These are just example ads where we're looking at the language in order to find whether or not this is an intermediate horse, an advanced, beginner, that sort of thing. So we're going to start with a 14.1 hand 9-year-old mare who rides English. Her ad reads, "Are you looking for a pretty fun forward sweet horse?" If this was a horse trader, like if we were doing horse traders, this would flag immediately. Then look no further. Sassy is a lovely mare that loves to go. She has had 4.5 months of professional training and is doing very well. She is sure-footed in the mountains and will go up or down anything. Sassy neck reins and has done just about everything. She has trail ridden, was used as a riding horse on a packing trip on a 60-mile section of the Pacific Crest Trail, been swimming, chased cows, and a little bit of roping, not on any live targets. Carried a flag, has been around mounted shooting, ridden Western English bareback, crosses water beautifully, and has done some jumping. Though confident, she is considered very green in jumping as she has only done it a handful of times. She is a very forward horse and likes to have a job. She isn't a walk down the trail horse. She is not at all dangerous, but does require someone to be confident. Sassy has a good temperament and loves affection. She's an absolute sweetheart and is ready for her new person. Don't miss the opportunity to take this sweet mare home. Now, red flags are here. I do believe that the owner just wrote the ad a little bit strange in like the real world where I actually pulled this from a thing. It looks like it was put into ChatGPT and they just wanted to... It just looks like it's been AI'd. But let's go ahead and go through the red flags that I noticed. The 4.5 professional training remark makes it appear as though this horse has only been ridden for 4.5 months, but they have photos and videos of them doing everything in the ad. I think ChatGPT took that and they meant that it took 4.5 months to break her, then she did all these things. This is why you don't use AI to write horse ads. The second red flag is the adjective forward. This goes two ways. She's insane or she just has a little bit of fast pace. I would check in on what forward means for the specific horse before moving forward with them. Otherwise, I think this horse would be a good intermediate riding horse. It would be good for a 5 foot or less rider who's planning on jumping or trail riding given what the ad had said. And I don't mean trail riding in the sense where they literally said she's not a just walking down the trail type of gal. I mean the fun trails where you go chase cows and you go up and down mountains. The people who want a fun, safe trail horse that can go a little bit quicker. Sorry, y'all, plain. She also could be good for barrel racing or a faster sport if she is truly forward. It just depends on how she lopes, whether she's collected, all those other things for that. Okay, our next ad is for a 14-hand 13-year-old mare. Her ad reads, Katie is a super broke and gentle granddaughter of famous horse. I'm not trying to reveal horses here, though. She's being used in parades, carrying flags, drill team, etc. She's recommended for an intermediate rider and up, because she will get up and go when asked. She's used to the noise, lights, dogs, chickens, kiddos, etc. She has had several foals. No known vices, 6-panel and in. She is currently being used for drill team season and will be available end of June. Rider or breeder, she's a great little mare. Now the obvious biggest red flag here is that she's not available right now and the ad is already up. I don't think that's a huge deal. It's just something that I noticed immediately. It's a little weird. It's probably just meaning that they're not going to move through this very quickly. It might even be good because you have plenty of time to ask lots of questions without being overly annoying. You can go do lots of test rides. all those things, and really get to know this horse better before you purchase. I like that she's for an intermediate rider because she can get up and go, and not for some other reason like your vices or something scarier. All in all, she seems like she would be a great horse. I would definitely pair her with a rider that is 5 foot or under because she's only 14 hands. Once again, if you're tall, you do not need a small horse. Sorry, boo. I would pair her with a more nervous rider because she seems like she has the space to go, but if she's used to kiddos and all those things, she's probably sturdy and able to be a calmer ride as well. She's 13, so that gives her a little bit more experience. We're in that 10 to 14 years range. It's a great range. Just so we can get on to this idea of how insane the horse market is right now, and you will be spending a lot if you want a good horse. Her price is $10,000. And even that, this is clearly an older family who's selling this. Y'all can't see the formatting on the ad, but it's quite clear. And a lot of times, families that have been in the equestrian world the longest, the ones that have been in here when a $1,000 horse was the best horse you could buy, they just tend to sell the horses for a little bit cheaper. Even the prices that were here 4 years ago, they tend to sell them just a bit cheaper than the people who joined the equestrian community in the time where things were more expensive. So our last ad is a 9-year-old off-the-track thoroughbred gelding. His ad reads, "Very nice 9-year-old gelding, retired from racing 2.5 years ago. Sound, life changes have determined my decision to sell Percy. Very kind deposition, loves attention, can catch anywhere. Easy keeper, current on all vaccinations and deworming. Hasn't been ridden since retiring from racing. Sent to a trainer for a tune-up. The trainer says that he is a very nice mover, very eager to learn things, no buck, and very pretty. Video available." Now, an off-the-track thoroughbred is a very forward horse. It's the stereotype, and in my opinion, it's typically true. There's always a few exceptions, but it's typically true. The not being ridden, then getting a tune-up makes it not awful, but I would be pretty worried the first couple times you ride them. If you're somebody who doesn't ride with a helmet, I would be riding with a helmet with this horse till you know he's not going to do anything. But on the other hand, it's really just up to you here when you see an ad like this to ask the owner and be really aware of how this horse reacts to things when you go to do your test ride. And be aware of whether or not you can handle an off-the-track thoroughbred that hasn't been ridden in years. It can be really difficult to handle, so just make sure you're in tune with what you can and can't do, and don't buy them if you can't. It's just, quite frankly, mean to buy a horse, promise that you're going to take care of them, not be able to handle them, and then sell them. The horse is 16 hands, so I would recommend anyone up to 6 foot being able to ride them. If you're a little bit taller than 6 foot, you can of course ride them. I wouldn't use them to compete. I would recommend a 6 foot or under rider for this horse. That is all for our episode about the intermediate horse. Make sure to tune in next week for the kids horse. We're going to go step by step about a kid's horse and when you need to pull out of the deal. It's a lot more complicated than whenever you're purchasing a horse for an adult, because adults have a bit more logic than kids and can handle a little bit more. Last announcements before we hop off this podcast episode. I'm going to be doing an episode where I go over listeners' backgrounds, whether they're intermediate, their sizes, and all of those little things that you need to do to search for a horse. Give y'all search perimeters and then find a couple sample ads for you just so that you have an idea of what you're looking for. So if you want to enter that, make sure to go to CaptainEquine.com and write what episode you were on when you heard this announcement inside our chat. You also can email me at lily@CaptainEquine.com to get entered into this episode.